Well, thank you very much for having me here. It's a it's great that people read my book and are interested and everything. So I always like it when when you know people from somewhere just email me and say, "Would you like to come to talk to us?" Because I feel like I'm rather a voice of the minority, at least in the Thai academia and inside Thailand. And so to be invited to give a talk for a group like this from inside Thailand, of course, made up of foreigners and recent people who just joined the community and all that is all very meaningful for me. So thank you very much again. So the title that I was given was Tracing the Past and Future of Chinese Diaspora Community in Thailand. And I kind of had a conversation with Dev on this, on the some of the problematics of this title a bit in email, and we decided that we would go ahead with this title. But I could talk a bit about the issues. And how awesome is that? I had to put my book on here just to like explain why I'm the right person to talk about this. But of course, Dev gave the awesome introduction already, so we don't have to talk about my book again. So there's an issue. I mean, the first time I saw the title of the talk that I'm supposed to give, I was kind of uh not sure how to go about it because there are some important terminologies in this title. If we go back to the title, tracing the past and future of Chinese diaspora community in Thailand, right? And this is the way we use the term Chinese diaspora. So I would like to talk a bit about these terms. Uh, the term diaspora, I think a lot of people would know that it started out uh, denoting specifically the Jewish diaspora. So it originally the term diaspora meant the Jewish people who, spread all over the world, but still maintain their cultural roots, their history, their linguistics, their culinary traits and such, and continue to group together as a cultural people, even though for thousands of years, uh, Israel was not a state, right? And this is the meaning of diaspora is the who uh, people who are essentially stateless for a long time, many generations, but still maintain their cultural identity and still group together in different places in the world and together maintain and carry on that cultural identity. And and even and then after the Second World War, there was the establishment of the nation state of Israel, and we still have the nation state of Israel today. Uh, and this kind of raises a question on who is the diaspora and who is not the diaspora. Uh, if there is already a nation state of Israel now, are the Jewish people still diaspora or not? And so the meaning of diaspora then kind of like expanded a bit. Later on, people started using diaspora with other sorts of people, like the Armenians also are considered a diaspora, even though post-Cold War, now you have the state of Armenia. But for thousands of years, the Armenian people were moving around and maintaining their identity without a state. And then you have countries like China, of course, where you have Chinese people all over the world, scattered across the world, especially during the colonial period in the 19th century. Uh, and the Chinese also maintain their cultural identity. So the the meaning, the term diaspora then comes to include groups of people who go away from their ancestral homeland and but still maintain their cultural identity through generations. And there might be a state, but it has to be a weak state, and it has to not have any connection, any real connection with the group of diasporas. Like the case of China in the 19th century, there were like Western imperialist encroachment, the Japanese encroachment in the Second World War and all that. So that this period between the 19th century and the better part of the 20th century, the Chinese state was there, but the Chinese state was very weak, and there was no, like, the Chinese state was not did not have strong contacts with the diaspora community, and most definitely were not in a position to protect the diaspora community. So these are called diaspora, right? So and then you have a special word that comes up specifically for the Chinese community, and that is a term in English, the overseas Chinese, right? A lot of people use this term, overseas Chinese. Now, the overseas Chinese, the word that is used in English, is actually has quite a few Chinese version of it, and these Chinese versions are different, and it suggests that they're like there's when we call people the overseas Chinese or the Chinese diaspora, there's a lot of political baggage to each term. So I would like to talk about some of these terms. The three that we hear the most in the 20th century and up till now. The first one is the huoxiao. And I use the traditional characters here because to signify that the overseas Chinese is something of, something that has a history way back before you have the simplified characters of the People's Republic of China. So when I write about this, I prefer to use traditional characters. So the first one is the huoxiao. The huoxiao is Chinese sojourners. This is important. Chinese sojourners. And the idea of huoxiao is that these Chinese who leave the mainland and go all over the world, they are leaving not permanently. They are not migrants. They are people who go abroad to work and send money back to support their families. The term huoqiu is very important, very significant for a generation of Chinese, especially those who left at the end of the 19th century and in the early 20th century, because of the Confucian idea, right? According to Confucianism, the worst kind of people are people who abandon the tombs of their ancestors, right? So the Chinese who were going overseas at the end of the 19th century and early 20th century, they wanted to specify that they are huoqiu, they are sojourners. They did not abandon the tomb of their ancestors, but circumstances forced them to have to leave the Chinese mainland in order to make money and send money back and, help their family survive, and so that their family can continue to tend to the tombs of the ancestors. So this is the term huoqiu, which which was kind of the main term for the overseas Chinese, I would say, up to the end of the Cold War. Up to the tail end of the Cold War. Maybe people started to debate this term in the 1970s and 1980s. But basically up to the end of the Cold War, this was the main term for the overseas Chinese, huoqiu, sojourners. But then because of the Cold War, precisely because of the Cold War and China being taken over by the Chinese Communist Party and the establishment of the People's Republic of China, the term huoqiu became problematic because the host countries that were with the free world, Thailand included, during the Cold War, got kind of suspicious of the overseas Chinese because, okay, if you wholeheartedly plan to return to the mainland, are you like connected in some ways with the Chinese Communist Party? Are you connected some way with the Chinese communists? Are you like importing communist ideology to your host country? Will you be a threat to national security? And this kind of led to persecution of the overseas Chinese in many areas in Southeast Asia because of this suspicion. So there was a move that I think a movement that became very vocal in the late 1980s and in the 1990s to say, okay, we don't want to use the term หัวเฉียว anymore. Maybe we should use other terms because, a lot of the overseas Chinese are second generation, third generation already, and they were born in the host countries. They were not born in China. So, they really don't intend to go back to China, but they still want to maintain their cultural identity. And so they came up with some other terms like 海外华人, which is literally overseas Chinese, right? 海外 is overseas Chinese, overseas, and 华人 is Chinese, right? And this term was used for a while, but it's a mouthful and it doesn't signify anything at all. It just says that it just means that these are Chinese people who are not in the mainland, right? And the question is how Chinese are you, right? And so I guess the term that is most politically correct right now is the third one, which is 华裔. 华裔 is basically someone with Chinese ancestry, like Chinese descent. So, and 华裔 is, I think 华裔suggests something very clearly is that, at least for me, my understanding of 华裔 is that the person does not carry a Chinese passport, like me. I have my great grandfather comes from China. My grandfather went back to be educated in China and then returned to Thailand. So I have Chinese ancestry. I continue to, my family like does the Qingmingjie, the festival of sweeping the graves. We do Chinese New Year and all that. But I carry a Thai passport. I don't carry a Chinese passport. So I'm 华裔. So 华裔 is like a cultural, very clear cultural, ethnic, maybe linguistic definition, which is not like does not denote a political alliance towards the old country. And now and then there's a new group that is increasing in number and influence in the 21st century, and that's new Chinese migrants, 新移民 in Chinese. And I would say the main difference between the overseas Chinese or Chinese diaspora and the new migrants is the passport you carry. Like, if you carry a Chinese passport, if you're a citizen of the People's Republic of China, then and in the same way, I would say Jewish people who are citizens of Israel are not the diaspora. That changes. You become a citizen of Israel, right? You're only part of the diaspora if you carry someone else's passport, right? Because the important notion of the diaspora is that you are not connected with the nation, right? So first of all, that's the major difference between the overseas Chinese that I talk about, I study in my first book here, and the growing community of new Chinese migrants is the citizenship issue, the connection with the Chinese state, and so you would see that the state actually plays a very important role in the definition of the people, like the different things that the Chinese in Thailand are called or known as or uh, categorized depends on their relationship with the Chinese state. And this is why. And I want to say that the past and the future of the Chinese in Thailand, which is the kind of the title of this talk, depends heavily on the state, on the Chinese state and on the Thai state, but most importantly on the state, the Chinese state. Because if we look at history, the group of people that I call the Chinese diaspora or the overseas Chinese, from the 19th and 20th century, this was a time when the Chinese state was weak. So in the 19th century, it was the decline of the Qing dynasty. There were a lot of imperialist encroachments, the Opium War and all that. And then into the 20th century, there were revolutions, there were periods in which the Chinese state became like broke up into many warlord states and everything. So the Chinese state was weak during this time. And when the Chinese state is weak, what does it do to the Chinese abroad, and especially the Chinese in Thailand? First of all, it allows for a high degree of assimilation. The Chinese that came to Thailand in the 19th and early 20th century, almost all of them by this time would have attained some form of like Thai citizenship, would not be carrying a Chinese passport. Another part is diversity. You would see that the overseas Chinese of the 19th and 20th century, they have, they're divided into speech groups. They have a diverse culture, they eat different things. They have different specialties in their careers that they work on. They are divided into many different kinds of overseas Chinese, right? And I think coming with this freedom and this diversity is the tendency for the overseas Chinese to be more aligned with the political ideology of the host country. And in this case, if they go to the US, if they go to Australia, if they go to Taiwan, they would tend to be more open to the democratic narrative of those countries as well. Thailand has a sketchy history about democratization, so that's up in the air. We can talk about that more later. But when we get to the dawn of the 21st century, we have a very strong Chinese state. The People's Republic of China is like the second largest economy in the world, and it's a challenging superpower to the US. And what happens here is Chinese who a lot of Chinese who leave the People's Republic of China and go to other countries, if they're moving to countries that are perceived to be less influential with basically less influential, less affluent, they would tend not to assimilate. And so the Chinese that come to Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, we would see the tendency towards non-assimilation more. And another thing that happens is that the Chinese state now has this one China policy. So there's a pressure from the homeland to homogenize. And there's a press, and so what we see is that, okay, in the 21st century, a lot more Thai people are learning the Chinese language, but the only Chinese language that they're learning is 普通话. so that the standard Chinese language, the official language of the People's Republic of China, that's the language that has been being taught. Even in a lot of the clan associations, the hometown associations, the even the dialect associations in in Thailand right now, the main Chinese associations that are, that has been the leader of the Chinese community, the overseas Chinese community since the 19th century and beyond. Now a lot of them just adopt the Putonghua, adopt the standard official language of the People's Republic of China. And the lingua franca of the new Chinese migrant coming in is also Putonghua. And so what I see as a scholar of the overseas Chinese at least in Thailand is that we're seeing a very fast rate of homogenization of the Chinese culture within Thailand. You don't see the rich diversity of the 19th century or even the 20th century anymore. Like the level of diversity from the 1990s and right now in the 2020s is very different. And you also have, because the Chinese state is very strong and powerful, you also have this authoritarianism and the surveillance state. You have pressure coming from the Chinese state to maintain the Chineseness of the new Chinese migrants, of the Chinese community abroad. There's what you can talk about, what you cannot talk about, who you're supposed to align with, what your it's more controlled, more, of course, we've probably heard of news about like underground police stations in parts of Europe, in parts of the United States, and things like that. And of course, in Thailand, like I was invited to join the Taiwan Film Festival or something, or Taiwan Cultural Festival that was supposed to happen in Chiang Mai, and then it didn't happen because like there was pressure from the Chinese consulate there and all that. So that affects the Chinese in Thailand as well, right? And I have this image up here because this guy, Don Paramat Vinay, was the Thai ambassador to Beijing in the early 2000s, and he later became the Minister of Foreign Affairs under the coup government of General Prayut Chan-o-cha for almost a decade, from 2015 to 2023. And this was the period in which Thailand shifted much closer to China. And this is an image, one of the many images of him with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to make that point. Okay, and finally, what is the future of Thailand in this situation? And the future of Thailand, I think, would have a lot to do with the future of the Chinese who are in Thailand, both the Chinese diaspora and the new Chinese migrant as well. I think it depends really on, first of all, how well the Thai state plays the geopolitical struggle between the two superpowers. We cannot pretend that it doesn't exist. This struggle between China and the U.S. and Southeast Asia is a major battleground for that, and it's important that the government, that the Thai state is able to play this to our advantage. And remain as independent as possible. I would say I would not advocate for siding with one side or the other because we are not in a position to be enemies with either the U.S. or the People's Republic of China at this point in time. And I think how well we're able to play this geopolitical struggle between the superpowers also depends on how sustainable our path to democratization is. I feel like Thailand is right now kind of on the path towards democratization. And the more the more we democratize, the more sustainable this democratization is, the more freedom Thailand would have to hedge between China and the US. People like to talk about Thai diplomacy as the bamboo diplomacy. I completely disagree with this. I think the bamboo diplomacy is a myth. And basically, the Thai elite just jumps from one side to the other, depending on who's most beneficial to them, which is a very typical modus operandi for a small state like Thailand. So that's completely normal. But I feel that especially in the post-Cold War period, as you would see during when Thailand was under the coup government, the less democratized we are, the more we are forced to side only with China because the other side doesn't want to deal with us. And the other side is not just the US, it's like the US's main partners like Australia, Japan, South Korea, the EU, and all that. There are so the more democratized Thailand can be, the more choices we have in balancing power with other people. And I think another important thing that I would like to say here is that all this also depends on how we manage this transformation of China in the coming decade. And I would say this, that in my humble opinion, China is about to go through a major transformation. And it would be a big transformation and it would be difficult for everyone. But we would need to survive that. And how well the Thai government manages the China transformation would also seriously affect the future of Thailand and the future, of course, the future of the Chinese people in Thailand as well. So yes, I think that's just under half an hour. So I will end my presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you. Screen sequences. Wow, that was really great. Thank you so much. I'll give people a few moments to maybe articulate some questions that they may want to pose to you. But I kind of want to jump on where you just left off, because you left us with a slight teaser saying you in your opinion you feel China is going to go through a massive transformation. Can you speak a little bit more to that and help us understand how that might change how Thailand deals with China?
Well, I think since COVID, everything has changed. And one thing that is very clear since COVID is that the trajectory of the Chinese economy is going down. And we've seen that with the issues, especially in the real estate sector, and the disaster with Evergrande has not been resolved. And it's, the price of real estate is continuing to go down in China, and that is affecting the other parts of the Chinese economy in significant ways. And so far, we have not seen, at least I don't see how the Chinese government is resolving this problem. They keep trying to increase, they say they want to increase domestic spending. They want to increase they want to increase the consumption of the Chinese people as a ratio within the GDP. But the domestic consumption, Chinese domestic consumption has always been very low, continues to be very low since, the opening up of China in the 1980s. And despite a lot of things that they have tried to do in the past couple of years, and the policies and all that, they are still having problems increasing this ratio of domestic consumption in China. So I think, and I don't see that they would be able to resolve this in a meaningful and sustainable way. And if the economy keeps going down, and especially with this tariff war that is brought about by President Trump, that affects the export sector as well. So what I'm saying is that the trajectory of the Chinese economy as it is today is not sustainable. And it doesn't seem like they can fix it. And in order to fix it, there would need to be a structural change in China with the Chinese state itself. So I think it's moving towards that direction.
Thank you. Very interesting. I will let our online friends as well, if you would like to, ask a question, maybe to raise your hand or unmute yourself. But I think the point you raised was on how China being a strong state at the moment also leads to maybe less diversity, less assimilation, and of course the harder boundaries at the moment. I wonder also if in this scenario of weakening China, and where the economic gravity within China is weaker, more groups of Chinese groups also are tempted to leave and find opportunities elsewhere. I mean, the interesting paradox of the moment, and that's something that a lot of us in this group feel, is that actually there's a lot of diversity of Chinese communities here right now. We're sitting in this 4C space. There's many groups here who are coming, but for shorter periods of time. They're not coming like 100 years ago in the way that they did, but they're still here and they're engaging. And there's this, interesting question of how does that engagement deepen? That's a sort of barrier that I think a lot of people are facing today, because the opportunities for assimilation are not what they used to be. And also the interest on the Chinese side to assimilate is less, because there's more affluence. There's already a strong Chinese economy. So they don't need to be dependent so much on mobilizing local production, what Michelle, who's online, talks about, cosmo-local, being more local and connecting to local communities. That impulse isn't there as much. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I know we have questions. Vivian?
Yes. Hello. Yes, that was really insightful. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to build on that. Since there's definitely a lot of Chinese friends here in Chiang Mai, we've been thinking or talking a little bit about what also appeared a lot in your research is the extraterritoriality, which is a very mouthful word, of the China states, like how because people here, a lot of people come out from China wanting to explore something that they can't really explore within China. There's like a lot of different limits, whether it's on the economy, the technology development, or topics that people can touch upon. It has been pretty sensitive. So we've been also wondering like how sensitive these different development will be in Thailand, and if the Thai government has been growing closer to the Chinese government over the course, how would that affect the overseas Chinese within Chiang Mai or within like Thailand in general? Just on that line, or what's your take on it? I hope it's clear.
Thank you. Yes. Actually, the term extraterritoriality was supposed to be the part of the title of my book. I proposed that title for it's supposed to be like The Crown and the Capitalists, the Ethnic Chinese, Extraterritoriality, and the Founding of the Thai Nation. But the publisher said that is too difficult. It's a mouthful. People cannot say it, so we're taking out of the title. So yeah, you're among the majority of people who think that. So let me say something from my personal experience and from where I am, so I can speak with some authority. Uh, so I teach at Chulalongkorn University, and I teach in the history department, and I teach with the Thai studies program. And where I get a lot of Chinese international students, especially graduate students, are in the Thai studies program. And so they come to study in Thailand. A lot of them study Thai language in China and everything. And then they come to Thailand to get a master's and PhD. And what happens is that a lot of them come to the Thai studies program and they want to write a thesis on something relating to China. They want to do the history of Thai-Chinese relations. They want to do China's foreign policy towards Thailand, or something involving the Chinese state, probably because they want to use, they feel that coming from China, this is their strong part, and they can contribute more. They can have access to Chinese documents and all that. And what happens is that I ban all these topics, and I just tell them that I will not supervise your thesis if you're going to write anything related to the People's Republic of China. And that is because there is the new national security law that says in your country that if you publish anything that could be considered a threat to national security, you can go to jail. And a thesis examination is considered a form of publication. Like if you pass your thesis examination, that is a form of publication. And if you're going to write something about Thailand and the People's Republic of China in any way, I myself, as the academic advisor, as a thesis advisor, would have to make you be critical of both sides. So it would have to involve you being critical of China, of the People's Republic of China. And I cannot guarantee that that would not get you in trouble with the national security law. And because this is a Thai studies program, there's no need for you to include the People's Republic of China in your thesis. So, so don't do anything related to that, because I don't want you going to jail. And if you still want to go back to China, you need to be careful about this. And so people may say this is my self-censorship, but it's what can I do? I don't want to be responsible for sending these kids to prison. And I don't want to be supervising an uncritical piece of academic research. I don't want my name on something that is just rehashing Chinese propaganda in the form of a research. So I just don't do this. And where is the Thai government's stance on this? It's very scary. The main government funding agency for research in Thailand, the NRCT, National Research Council of Thailand, there's a section of it that provides funding for any research relating to China. And in this section of the NRCT, they work with CAS. Who is CAS? Chinese Academy of Science. And actually, in the council that decides who gets funding from NRCT to do research on China, you have CAS people in that council. So basically, I will never get funding from NRCT in this life or the next, because people from CAS are deciding who, and CAS is the Chinese Academy of Science, is an organization under the Chinese Communist government, and its members, some of its members are members of the Chinese Communist Party as well. So it's the Thai government is at least up to this point is still very, I think after COVID and after the recent elections and of course after the rise of Trump, the return of Trump, both Thailand and ASEAN have kind of like moved a bit out. They're not as close to the Chinese government as they used to be, but they still, right now, I would say, if I had to say whether the Thai government was closer to the US or closer to China, I would still say the Thai government at the present is still closer to China. And yeah, so it's difficult. It's difficult. So I could see how it would be difficult for Chinese people who come to Thailand looking for more freedom to do things and running into these limitations. Of course, Thailand is more free than China, but there are still limitations, serious ones. I think Michael had his hand up.
Yeah, go for it. Michelle, you're on mute.
Oh, yes, Michelle, you need to unmute.
Yeah, I have a few questions. So, okay, first of all, I'm kind of skeptical when you say that Thailand is democratizing. I mean, it's relatively democratic. It's also relatively managed, and some parties win the elections, and then they can't really take up their position. So, I was wondering if you have any signs that makes, that you actually believe that it's democratizing right now. So that's not about China, but about Thailand. I have a particular curiosity because I talked to a local mayor some time ago in Chiang Mai who said 100,000 Chinese Christians established themselves in Chiang Mai since 2013. That's a lot of people, for Chiang Mai. And I'm just wondering if you know anything about that, because that's, I think, kind of new. It's like a very particular group that started coming here in 2013. I have some slightly different interpretations of China, and of course, I'm not an expert like you. But when you say that China is in trouble, it is in some ways. But it's basically slower growth, right? And they had this 6-8% growth, and now I don't know, maybe 4 to 6. And so they don't have enough jobs creation for the number of young people that come out of universities. And I think they have like 18 to 25 youth unemployment. But I have a different vision of the real estate crisis, because I think that was engineered with purpose to basically stop the urbanization process and the speculation in the cities. And a lot of that money has been diverted to technological innovation investment, which, if you go to China now, as I did just for 5 weeks recently, it's very impressive. The amount of technical innovation. It's like going to Japan in the early 80s. Like, lots of stuff that I can't see in Thailand, certainly not in Europe, even not in the US. Flying taxis, robots that bring you coffee in the coffee shop. AI is talking to me in a 3-star hotel. So it's very impressive, many things that are happening there. Even there is a crisis. And so I think there is a reorientation that is conscious. And now, of course, I don't know if it's going to work. But so I went to visit these rural reconstruction villages in Penang and other places. And it seems to me there's a really like a change in policy where, the surplus of the city is now used to redevelop rural areas. Anyway, and I found that quite impressive what was happening. I went to 3 different places. And, there was a lot of dynamism there, a lot of young people from the cities moving to these villages. So I think there's a serious attempt, and I don't want to justify the policy or anything, but I just think that, that kind of change from high growth to slow growth happened in every country. It happened in the West in the 1980s, right? So it's very challenging. for a country to adapt to that. But it's I think it has some kind of rationale what they're trying to do. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, let me start at whether Thailand is democratizing or not. 2026 is the 10th, will mark the 10th anniversary of the 10th reign. It is important to note that in the first decade of this reign, there has not been a coup. This is significant. I would say this is a major improvement from the last reign. You look at how many coups happened within the first decade of the last reign and how many coups happened within the whole reign, okay? So first of all, that's a major improvement towards democracy. Secondly, there has been elections, and okay, the leader of the party that won the most seats did not get to be prime minister, but the party that won the most seats did not win the majority of the House. And the government was made up of a coalition of smaller parties that make up a majority of the House. And these parties were elected democratically, right? So in a way, and that continues till today. Okay, I don't think it was fair that Seta was disqualified. I don't think it was fair that Pat Hong Tan was disqualified. I don't think it was fair that all these political parties were dissolved again and again. That's problematic. But even to this moment, Prime Minister Anutin's government came according to democratic channels, according to as democratic as it can be under a constitution drafted by the coup group. So in that sense, I think there's definitely there are reasons to be hopeful. If you look at things in the grand scheme of things, we are doing better than the last reign, I would say. In terms of China, this is very difficult to say because, former Premier Li Keqiang said himself before COVID, before the disaster, that Chinese GDP numbers are an inspiration. You should take it as an inspiration. And what happened to him after that, we all know, right? So, and when Xi Jinping came out and said, we have defeated like extreme poverty, right? We declare victory over extreme poverty. And then Li Keqiang came out and said, no, actually, like 600 million people are still below the poverty line. So what I'm saying is that the Chinese Communist government is very good at presenting one face to the world, and we don't really know, and it's impossible to know what really is happening on the ground. And so when people say I've been to China and such is happening, yes, but there's one side of China that is open to the world, and then there's another side of China that is like that is not so straightforward to get to go in and see. And so I mean, the real estate, I do agree that they were trying to control, limit urbanization, and they were trying to control the bubbling of the real estate structure. So the crash came after the 3 red lines, right? So yes, that was definitely what they were trying to do. But what I'm saying is that is like too little, too late. Like you already have these like multitudes of ghost towns, and by the number of a state it's the Chinese state number that says that there are like 600 million empty buildings in China. And so it's already way beyond that already. And so I think it's difficult to go, it's difficult to say something definitively. I don't want to go around saying that the Chinese state is going to collapse because I don't know that it's going to collapse. But at the same time, I think it's also quite dangerous to take all the numbers and the presentation of the Chinese state at face value, right? So the only thing I'm saying is that I think something needs to change structurally in the Chinese state in order to manage this economic crisis that they're going through. And this might not happen at all if it wasn't for Trump's return. Because if business as usual in terms of tariffs and exports and everything, maybe the export sector can still drive the economy. But with this trade war, that also diminishes the export. The export sector, and I think it is really Trump's activities or have also been like making this transformation come faster in China, because so that's as much as I'm going to say.
Thank you so much. We're kind of at the end of time, but maybe a very quick question, which is, you wrote your book, Crown Capitalist, in 2019, was it? I'm curious where your research is taking you going forward into the next few years, and what we can look forward to, and what kind of trends you are most interested in. And you, of course, you just mentioned one about the transformations in China. I'm curious how you see the interaction with Thailand.
Thank you very much. That's something I want to talk about very much. So I finished a draft of a manuscript of my second book. It's been through one round of reviews already, but I will have to do significant revisions, which I plan to do during my sabbatical this coming year. And the second book is called The Crown and the Communists, PRC-Thai Relations in the Post-Cold War. So I would later, I plan on having a box set, right? So basically, the premise of this book is what happened in the post-Cold War, that Thailand, which is a treaty ally of the United States. Thailand was like that with the US since the end of the Second World War. And we're still a treaty ally. So we are like a major, like, non-NATO ally of the US, okay? But when you get to the 21st century, it's very clear that there's a very strong shift of the Thai elite towards the People's Republic of China. And that's where we're here now at this moment, that, I'm saying that in this geopolitical struggle between the US and China, the Thai elite still remains like slightly closer to China than the US at this moment. And I argue that in order to understand how this happened, we have to go way back into the 1970s when, Thailand was just normalizing relations with the People's Republic of China. That it's a long trajectory. So I'm telling that story. Thank you.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Ajahn Wasana. That was really illuminating, and I think we'll take in some of these thoughts and ideas into our conversation over the rest of the day as well here in Chiang Mai.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
ค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys. See you
Goodbye,
soon.
everyone.
Thanks.
Goodbye, Sam.
Hey, guys. It's
See you all. Yes. Yeah.
Everyone that I recognize, and even Nicholas is there. Great.
Yes. Bye. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
All
be
right.
in town in a few weeks. See you all.
Yeah. All right.
See you guys. Bye.
Yes. Bye.